And we are live. What is good, everybody, man? Welcome into the Bluebloods Coach's Corner edition. As always, myself, my guy, Coach Fred, on the road recruiting. And whew, I feel bad for you, man. On the road recruiting for high school, JUCO, and all that. And man, we had, I don't know, Coach, if you've seen it yet, over 500 players have officially entered the portal just today, not even including, the past week with grad transfers, and it's not even 5 p.m. yet.
Unbelievable, man. Yeah, unbelievable. Just the amount of kids, the amount of texts, uh, phone calls, DMs. I'm worried, thinking something's going on. Hey, did you see this? Hey, did you see that? Hey, did you see this? And it's just like, man, overwhelming. Like, I don't know how you're supposed to keep up with it. Like, I get it. All these staffs that have separate staffs to monitor it, you got to have it. You got to have it because you don't have time yourself to do it.
Listen, I can't even keep up with who's in the portal. Like, that's the crazy part. And then we got kids finding out that they got extra years, and we got 7th and 8th year seniors, and it's like we should have a draft announcement. And we got kids. We talked about this 2 weeks ago. We got kids declared for the draft, and I'm like, what's your draft grade? And it's just been chaos all day. I mean, because there's a chance, looking at it, because we still got the window's 14 days now after today.
Yep.
There's a chance that it's going to be over 2,000 players entering the portal just in the first period, not even including the second period after spring practice.
Hey, as I'm still getting updates, you need to take that number up because it's still, and people are still inboxing me and things like that. So 2,000, I think you might have set the bar just a little too low.
Yeah, I might have. I mean, Coach, there was a report today that came out, and guys, for the episode, listen, we're obviously going to get to the playoffs. We have a lot to talk about there. Get to FAMU winning the SWAC Championship, clinching their spot in the Celebration Bowl. But, man, the transfer portal opened today. And, Coach, there was a report out of North Dakota State that 4 to 6-ish players had significant NIL offers to enter the transfer portal from Power 5 schools. So the NIL collective at North Dakota State had to hold a meeting because their hope is to prevent some of these guys from hitting the portal. And I got a call again from a big Sky school today. I won't name it because I don't want to give up my guy. Said that there's going to be a mass exodus from a notable big Sky school because multiple players have 6-figure offers to hit the portal.
I still don't understand it, man. I really don't. In most collectives, I shouldn't say most, all collectives, they should have nothing to do, so to speak. They shouldn't have boots on the ground at the school. So for them to feel the need to have a meeting, man, it's getting serious. It's getting really, really serious out here.
And I know the common response, especially for FCS schools, coaches, let's make the move to FBS. That will save us, because if we move to FBS, we'll have extra scholarships. Kids won't have to feel like they have to move up a level to prove themselves. I don't know if people who are saying that are paying enough attention, because the group of 5 schools are getting ravaged right now by the transfer portal if you have top talent.
Oh, it's worse than I think for our level, so to speak, because they are really. And the thing is, if you have a quarterback that can freaking play at the group of 5 level, number 2's up, because you're not going to be able to hold him unless you got somebody sitting in the wings with a deep pocket that's willing to pay these kids. And then, I think what's being lost in the matter is that this is supposed to be name, image, and likeness. And I think a lot of people are getting paid for a lot of things that don't fall under the rule of what this is supposed to be. Not crying over spilled milk, not doing any of that. But I think what this rule is intended for has been taken way out of context.
it's almost, I mean, it's glorified pay for play at this point. Like, I mean, really and true. I mean,
Oh, no.
it's getting to the point where, you know, I work for On Three for one of my other jobs. We're openly talking about how much money we're going to offer X, Y, and Z quarterbacks to come to Auburn. Like, that's
I,
an open conversation on a public platform for recruiting services now is how much money can this school offer this kid who's not even in the portal? What do you do? Like,
and
like
that's the thing that's puzzling to me, and still puzzling and disturbing at the same time, because the kid from Oregon State, DJ, um, the kid from Washington State, you know, someone
yeah,
has reached out to those kids the last week of the season and said, "Hey, we got a meal for you. When you're done, just hit the portal. Come on, we got it." You know, there's another one that I heard, and I won't say anything about it. I won't say it here until it happens, but there's another one that was at a Power 5 school, very successful, was making a lot of money where he is, and he's going to leave for a couple $100,000 more to get him to the Millie, because he feels the guys that are being offered a Millie aren't better than him. So the market should be XYZ. And it's like, I'm afraid for us at our level, not just the SWAC, but at our level, we are going to turn into the new JC. We're gonna turn into the new junior college, and we might have a kid 1 year, 2 years if we're lucky, and then that's it. And then we will become a subpar league, if that makes sense. And I don't know your view, your thought, because I don't think we have the same. I know we don't have the same alumni base, business base, uh, entrepreneur base. You know, what was the kid from Miami that had that Ponzi scheme that was NIL and before then? Nevin. We don't have Nevins, you know, and by all means, don't do anything illegal to do it. But I'm just saying, we don't have those type of people that just want to be associated with any FCS school, so to speak, to where they're going to say, hey, you know what, we're going to give you $1 million, man. Rock out, get as many people as you can. You know, and that's going to happen, I think, across FCS altogether. And that's, you know, that's scary.
I'm with you. I mean, and I've talked about this on the show for over a year now. I don't know if my guy Sonic Boom or anyone's in here, but man, we had this conversation about a year ago on a live stream, like right when like these new transfer portal rules hit in. There's a few people in the chat, my god, D Boys and Sonic Boom and everyone, but I mean, it's going to be a vicious cycle, I think, for FCS programs, because what's happening, coach, you're seeing it. Moving to group of five isn't going to keep anyone safe, because those group of five kids are moving to power five. Then the top FCS kids are moving to group of five, power five. The top D2 kids are going to FCS lower group of five. And then the excuse my language, the shitty power five players are getting kicked back down to the D2. Like, you get a bunch of FBS. Now, that might have been a bad term because some of them work out, but it's at the end of the day a bunch of guys who are, one, unproven, two, aren't good, or three, are culture killers.
Yes. Yes. And then you wind up having to take a chance on those guys, because you look up and the first day you have two guys that you have been counting on to come back. You know, they are pillars of the program, and then they're gone. You got to get somebody in here rather quickly. The second semester is coming up, January, spring ball. Those places are coming up. And I think if we learn nothing else from the USC deal, you can do this all you want, man. Texas A&M, it's not going to translate to championships, but it does make for great college fantasy football. And I think that's the era in which we're kind of in right now. And it's only going to get worse, because I don't know how the NCAA brings it back, if that makes
You can't. Like, and I've had a conversation. I had a conversation with another coach about this, it's almost like you built a dam, and NIL and the transfer portal were kind of sitting behind that dam, and then you tore it down. What are you doing now?
Yeah.
Because you didn't even build like the problem that I have with the NCAA's decision is, coach, they didn't even build guardrails or safety rails before they unleashed all the chaos. They just said, we messed up. Like, yes, NIL should have been a thing, the transfer portal should have been a thing, but instead of, we're gonna come up with a good idea, slowly walk into it, put these guardrails to keep everything in order. They just said, nah, man, we're just going to let everyone go. There's going to be no rules. We're not going to do anything to help anybody. And now we're trying to manage it. And it's like trying to put water back into a glass. You've spilled it now.
Yeah.
You can't do nothing. Like
you don't have enough paper towels to wipe it up, because it's all over the table. It's steady running. Some's falling off the table. Some's falling in the crack in between. And it's, it's unfortunate, but it's been around for as long as college football. We just didn't know. But the thing that is just disheartening, man, is that it ain't about ball no more. Me as a recruiter, me as a coach, and it may catch up to me, as they say, either evolve or become extinct. If that is our first conversation in recruiting, I'm done. I can't talk to you anymore. Even though we have a collective at our university, I can't tell those people what to do with their money. And I'm not going to tell them to give you money and you've never done a thing for us. So I can't do that with a good conscience, because you pay into the collective every week, your hard-earned dollars. And I don't know if Jimmy can play at this level. I know what he did where he was. He gets here and can't do anything, and you guys have agreed to give this kid $1,000 a month. Y'all looking at me now, and now it's, man, he can't recruit, this, that, this. And I get it, because you're paying somebody, $1,000 a month of your hard-earned money, and they're playing as many plays as you are, and it does not buy you championships. It don't do it. It does not do that.
Coach, I was talking to my guy Dave in the HBCU nightly chat today. The Walter Payton finalists were announced today. You got Jaden Sheridan, Mark Gronowski, and Max Brosmer. Jaden Sheridan announced for the draft today as a junior out of Monmouth. Max Brosmer, coach, is committed to Minnesota already. So
you want to tell me that happened today? All that happened at 8 a.m. when it was official that
Brosmer was a grad transfer, so he's been in the portal for like a week or two. So he's taking his visits. He did the smart thing. If you were a grad transfer, you needed to get in the portal, take your visits, and commit, because you were going to get lost in the fray. He did it right. Listen, he took his visits. He went to Minnesota. Great job. I like PJ Fleck and what he's doing. But coach, we can realistically have a Walter Payton announcement in January where the guy who wins is on campus at Minnesota.
Yeah. That's funny.
Like, put that in perspective. And listen, me and Timothy met for like an hour, 2 hours, on Sunday, finalizing all the American teams and stuff like that. Coach, there's a chance, like, I'm not even joking, there's like 60% of our All-American list that aren't even going to be at the schools they played at last year.
What do you do? I mean, again, it's like herding cat. You try to get this group, then they run. You try to get this group, and I just, I don't know how long this can be kept up, unless you have that deep alumni base, unless you have those big alumni, those big people that want to come in and be involved. You should probably start giving out, as a university, you should probably start giving out a lot more honorary doctorates to some big names to help you and your university continue on, because not everybody has oil money in their their university system. So this is going to, if we could look ahead 10 years from now, I really wonder what that's going to look like in the athletic world. for
Employees.
us. Yeah, it's scary, man. It's scary.
Because I think my guy D in the chat put that I mean we've talked about this on this show. I mean, there's a chance players are employees within the next 5 years.
Yeah,
Really
filling
and
out
truly.
W-9s and
Yeah.
W-2s, all that. I don't. Is that how you
It's
get a
such
hand?
a slippery slope. That is such a slippery slope, really and truly, if it shifts to that point. Because right now, NIL, let me say this, can't be given for performance. And
But come
some kids are being forced to the portal and
on.
all this. If they're employees, always get Terry because you have a bad game. That whole, oh, it's just a kid, he's just a student, don't rip on him. Woo, let you be an employee being paid by the university publicly, and you go drop a game-winning touchdown pass.
Oh man, you're gonna see some kids being removed from classes.
Yep.
Uh,
Oh yeah, and then players
wrong.
can technically be fired. Now, Coach, me and you both know today there are players being forced into the portal, like obviously, but it's kind of silently. That's going to get real public. You're going to see on 247 Sports, ex quarterback fired from Alabama University after poor season, ex player from Michigan fired after this. Like that's what we're going toward in employees, and I really don't know if people are ready for that.
I almost feel like that should be. Never mind. Nah.
Listen, let's say that to the all season because that has a hell of a. We got a dead week in between the championship and the semifinals. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna talk transfer portal because it'll be right around signing day. It'll be perfect.
Open up, take calls, take questions.
That'll be a call-in show for sure. That will definitely be a call-in show, man. I do want to give a shout out, man. Shout out to my guy, Mr. Campbell. I know he's excited. He said greetings from the SWAC champions to Florida A&M Rattlers. Listen, man, I'm excited for them, Coach. Let's go there first. I was going to start playoffs, but let's go to FAM, Coach. First outright conference championship since 01. First SWAC championship in school history, Coach. I know people that I feel like that 59-3 loss kind of overshadows how impressive FAM has really been since joining the conference. I mean, what, 23-3 or something like that over the first 3 seasons?
Can't deny them. I mean, numbers, wins, losses, that's what we play for. Nothing you can say about it because it's in your face. Shout out to Mr. Campbell. I watched that game, and even with the delays, hats off to Coach Simmons and his staff. They didn't come out flat. They didn't come out like they weren't interested. After any of those rain delays, they were focused, and I think that it's well deserved. Now hopefully they can go and get it for the conference, and that was just a total. And no other way to put it, that was total domination. At no point in time, other than the opening kickoff, was this game in doubt. There was just one team was ready and one team wasn't ready. That's how I seen it.
Yeah, I'm with you because I mean if I'm not mistaken, when PV went down and scored and brought it to one possession, and FAMU just drove it straight down the field, and it was never close after that. The only thing that concerns me, Coach, and I'll say that to the end because I do want to give credit. It was just another. I mean, this game went almost exactly like the first game, except the weather kept it from getting out of hand. That's really what happened. Because, Coach, 3 different players threw interceptions for PV, 7 completions for 3 picks in less than 100 yards passing again. And they could not stop FAMU's rushing attack, man. Terrell Jennings, huge game, 113, 2 touchdowns. Listen, FAMU controlled the entire game, Coach. And I said this is what worried me for PV. They're too one-dimensional. They couldn't protect Conley. And when he went down, it just got way out of hand. But he wasn't even playing well when he was healthy. PV has to find some sort of solution for the quarterback spot because they have the talent at running back. the quarterback play is not there against elite teams. And coach, I really do think that was the main. Definitely, listen. Morgan, 2 picks, had an outstanding game. They were able to get pressure. Isaiah Major, another big game. I mean, really and truly, coach, I think we both said FAMU was the better team coming into the game, and there was no doubt on Saturday who was the better team on the field.
And you took it right out of my mouth there. This was the exact same thing as the first game. Nothing changed. Was wound up maybe one score short from what it was before. Yeah. You still looked at a balanced number for FAM, 200 and whatever passing, over 200 rushing, 200 rushing for 100, almost 200 rushing for PV, and less than 100 passing. Nothing different from the last game. And, I hate to think that gap was that big between the talent, but, your man up front wasn't very gentle. And at one part in that game, it looked like no one wanted any parts of him or anybody else up front. And I don't know if it was cold rain or what, but by the fourth quarter, they were ready to get home, man. They were ready to get back to the hotel, take a shower, eat, and get ready for the bus tomorrow morning. Again, hats off to FAMU. Hopefully me and you can get there and see them live at the Celebration Bowl. If you could pull off my media credentials, but that's a whole nother story. That's an off-camera deal.
Listen, there has been some very vocal people on social media about the media credential situation for the Celebration Bowl. We'll discuss that offline. But I will say the 2 positives for me for PV, because I don't want to be all negative. There's no doubt that they can run the football.
Oh, no doubt. That's what they do. Listen, that's what they do.
Have to average 6 yards a carry with no passing attack was pretty impressive. And I thought their offensive line played really well in terms of run blocking. Their running backs may have played Caleb Johnson, Ahmad Antoine, Heron as well. The other thing was I liked the energy that they came out with, coach, because they heard the disrespect the quote unquote disrespect all week about how they couldn't compete, how they weren't on the same level. And I think it came out not great before halftime, like starting the fights and all that kind of stuff. Like they didn't let it out appropriately, but I did like how they play with the chip on their shoulder, especially early. I give them that. But outside of the run game, man, there's really not a lot of positives to take away from this performance. But I will say, coach, the one thing that it gives me pause on, the way FAMU struggled to stop their run game with a lack of pass game, that showed Howard they're going to have a chance in the Celebration Bowl.
Oh, ain't no doubt. And I think Howard kind of felt that way anyway. They have that man playing outside. So, they're not going to be intimidated one bit. And as a conference, they already feel pretty good about the bowl game because they think that they can come in and kind of do what they need to do. And they're going to be out on the top side because they've shown that as a conference. They've been off for a little while. They got a chance to go deep in the film room. I think me and you talked about this one time before. They probably had a little more time to go deeper in the film room than FAM has had time to go deep on them in the film room. So it's going to be interesting to see that cat and mouse, but they got Casey. I'm sure FAM will come up with a way to take Casey away. But like you said, can they stop the run game and keep Casey under, in check? But that's a whole nother show. But, 1 for 7 on third down, 3 turnovers on the road, a game that you're underdog. That's not a recipe to help you get anywhere near winning that ball game. And that's kind of what happened to PV.
Yeah, 3 turnovers was a death sentence in this game. I mean, really and truly. And then plus you lose your starting quarterback. Secondary isn't very good. I mean, it was just a bad matchup all around for PV. But yeah, I'm excited for the Celebration Bowl. I think when you look at some of the holes FAM has as a team, I think Howard has a really good shot to expose those because they do have an elite offensive line and they got probably one of the deepest running back rooms in the conference. And I do think they have a lot better secondary than PV did, especially led by Kenny Gallup and those guys. So I know people it's the same trick as always, coach. And we'll get to the preview of the Celebration Bowl in the coming weeks, but it's the same it's the same story. They look at the record. Howard's not that good. FAM's coming in here rolling, and then as soon as everyone counts them out, Howard's going to come in there and run for 300 yards on the ground.
Boat race, ain't no doubt about it. Been there, done that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see.
People. Yeah, I'm with you. I think as football people, you've got to go in and you've got to look at them and look at what they do. I think if you do nothing else, I think you owe it to yourself as a football person to go back and replay that NCCU game. And that's the type of focus that I think they'll come out with. But like you said, that's another show. We'll talk about it. But you have time before the Celebration Bowl to go back and actually look at them, not the records. Actually look at them as a whole and put your own, idea, game plan together and be good by the time we get to the preview show.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. We might have to do a film breakdown before that one. That might be a good one for us to bring the film back on. But, Coach, shifting to the playoffs real quick, there's obviously one game we're going to have to hit. I mean,
I think we both got it wrong.
I still don't even know how this happened. Coach, North Dakota State is, I don't know. It's like the old WWE days, man. Undertaker sitting up in the casket. Just when you thought they had no shot, here they come, and they got all the Coach, we talked on the preview, getting this win on the road, the momentum is going to be unbelievable coming into South Dakota, where you feel really good in a rematch. And then you got that Montana game probably on the horizon. No disrespect to Furman, but it's going to be Montana in the semifinals. Coach, looking back at this game, I just want to, for the people who didn't get to watch this game, because it was the same time as the SWAC Championship, Montana State put up 500 yards, averaged almost 9 yards per play, won the time of possession, had the better third down percentage, was getting to the quarterback, held North Dakota State to 78 passing yards, and lost at home.
By the numbers, like you said, when you look at it, you're like, how did they even have an opportunity to get to overtime? And to lose it on a blocked extra point, I couldn't feel worse for those kids. But, total domination, 12 yards of pass, 7 yards of rush. And you look up at the end of the day and you're on the L side of things. Absolutely tough because they got what they wanted. They kind of did what they wanted. But I think at times, the defense had a lapse here and there. But, you hold a team under 100 yards passing and you still lose. That's a tough pill to swallow.
I mean, Coach, it was special teams. How many times do we talk about special teams meaning something? Everyone overlooks it. No one knows the kicker's name. No one knows the punter's name. No one knows, who's on special teams. Coach, not only do they have the block extra point at the end, they missed 2 first quarter field goals. And this is a story that goes back to why they lost the Idaho game, Coach, if you remember that one.
Yeah.
Special team struggle. And there's a lot of unrest going on right now, just to let you know, Coach, at Montana State, because they felt like this was an inexcusable loss. Because all season, special teams has been your Achilles heel. You make the kicker change. Does it work? Yeah, what are you doing to fix this? You look at all the talent Montana State has, Coach. You got 2 of the best dual threat quarterbacks. You got the running back room. You have arguably the best offensive line in the country. You have solid playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. You get a home game, have a chance to win, put up 500 total yards, and you still find a way to lose because you cannot figure out how to recruit specialists. Man, that's a tough one to swallow.
Been there, done that. And the fact that this was at home, I think makes this 10 times worse. If it's on the road, it's still a bad loss, but it's not lingering the way that this is going to linger. This will be around into the summer. They'll talk about it's not, but this will be around into the summer, especially if there's no significant, and I hate to say it, if there's no significant change to satisfy the masses, to quiet the chatter. This is going to stay around, and it'll come up again in a game if there's a missed extra point or a field goal that falls, short. Regardless if it's 30-yard field goal or 70-yard field goal, you're going to have to make every one of them just to keep everybody quiet. But, Malott did his thing, man, dominated. Pass game was decent. On the ground, you know who he is. But to lose this game, I wonder if this might be said school that you talked about that might have a mass exodus. But that's just, to bring hype and all that stuff to our show. But
yeah, I'll keep that under wraps.
Yeah, this is tough. This is gonna be tough, and it's tough for me because I was expecting them to go kind of deep and set up a nice semifinal round type thing, and now I got one team left, and we'll talk about that later.
A big special teams conversation with that one as well. But Coach, we talk about the special teams miscues for Montana State. How about North Dakota State making the call to put their 6'8" offensive tackle in the game for that field goal, and he blocks the field goal, being 6'8", a senior coach, a senior that has been a career backup, is now a legend in Fargo, North Dakota because of this.
He eats free for the rest of his life anytime he's there.
Especially if they go to the Natty. If they end up finding a way to win the Natty, like this kid is the MVP of the season.
He's going to get a job within the program somewhere on campus. He'll be able to stay there for life if he wants to, if they get that far. But for right now, he's eating free throughout the city, wherever he wants to freaking go. But that's a big time move by the coaching staff. They seen it at some point in time during the year, I'm sure. And at that point, they were like, what the heck? I'm all about it, man. Find that guy, get him in the middle, get a little push, get your hands up. Wasn't like he skied Michael Jordan. He just got his hands up, got a piece of it. I'm all about that, man. Hats off to the coaching staff. Way to evaluate, know what you have in your uniforms, and you getting every ounce of ability that you can get out of your kids, man. You're getting it. That's big time. Big time.
They posted a picture after the game, Coach. He hit the ball hit him so hard, he still had the mark on his forearm after the game of the laces. Like legendary.
He's got to get that tatted. He's got to get that.
That's a fact. That I have to get that. The picture's legendary too from that kick. But because you mentioned it, Tamarick Williams, absolutely insane day. 162, 2 touchdowns, just explosive play after explosive play. TK Marshall really broke it up in that 29-yard touchdown run as well late in the game. I will say this, though. There was Coach, I know you probably didn't see it, but there was a huge conversation surrounding around the hate around Cam Miller. And North Dakota State fans were saying that, people were being lazy and Cam's a better quarterback than people are giving him credit for, that he's been the leader this year. And I agree, he's played well this year, but it's games like this where I think he shows why I understand he had a great year. He cannot be in the conversation for elite quarterback play because of games like this. That like North Dakota, like the real topic surrounding this game for me is they won in spite of Cam Miller, not because of Cam Miller.
You can't be in an elite conversation if you're throwing for less than 70 yards in this type of game. And this talk, I remember us talking about this week 1, week 2. And it's been a up and down situation. And, he was lucky to get out of this down situation. 5 of 13 for 66 yards, right at 5 yards of completion. That's not going to get it done next round. Unless something like, this happens again where, you're able to hang around, get a couple mishaps from the other team. But your starting quarterback at this point in the season cannot be throwing for less than 100 yards and giving yourself an opportunity, unless you're Nebraska of the 80s.
Yeah, and Timothy in the chat makes a great point. When North Dakota State gets behind schedule, because he got sacked 4 times too. Like North Dakota State's offensive line struggled to protect him. When they're behind the chains, Cam Miller is not good enough to get them out of that. But when they're on schedule, can work off the play action. He can just sit in the pocket and do his thing. And he's great. And listen, I do want to say Eli Green is becoming sneakily one of my favorite prospects to watch. A young guy at wide receiver, 4 for 63. But I will say, too, defensively, real quick before we move on, Coach, the defensive line has been something, we talked a while back about them not having really any playmakers. Dylan Hendricks and Jake Cava are kind of coming along pretty well as guys that can generate those negative plays. Hendricks is more of the pass rusher, in my opinion, but Jake has been doing a really good job at generating those negative plays, keeping teams behind the line of scrimmage. So that's something to watch as we get into the later rounds. Can that defensive line keep finding new playmakers to emerge as they're still banged up? Their superstars are kind of hurt. Can they find new guys to step up? And I think Hendricks is someone to watch in the later rounds, Coach. But any final thoughts on North Dakota State's insane win this weekend?
Is before you said that, I was going to make mention that one receiver had all of Cam yards, and that was
he's a stud. And that kid's only a sophomore, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Can they hold him?
No, probably not. That might be one of the players that has the offer to go because the kid's a stud. The kid's absolutely a stud. Coach, your team, the Vandals, you texted me on Saturday night and said you were kind of stressed, which I don't blame you. I mean, if there was a game that listen, I know we just talked about the North Dakota State game with special teams being big. If there was a game to watch that showed you the importance of special teams, this was the one on ESPN2 late on Saturday night. Coach, they hit the 29-yard game-winning field goal to win the game in overtime. They block the potential game-winning field goal at the end of regulation. And as their offense sputtered, they're down 10-3. Offense can't find a rhythm. Jermaine Jackson pulls out an 86-yard punt return to tie the game, and it sparked the comeback. Special teams gets it done. Eck and Idaho move on for my most exciting game of the week, Albany, Idaho in the Dome. I cannot wait for that one.
Yeah, just the opposite of the game we just talked about. Their special teams was very good. Hayden Haddon is an absolute monster.
Unbelievable.
They knew it was coming to him, and they still couldn't cover him. But the thing about this game, man, if I can get on my soapbox for 2 minutes, the officiating, man, we've got to get better across the board, not just on the field, but in the replay booth. If you have the benefit of replay and we're still blowing calls, man, why have replay? Because it just makes it just takes away from the game. A. Woods ends that game clear as day, and they review it and they don't overturn it. I don't understand that. That part of the college game has got to change. We've got to get better with the guys on not just on the field, but in the replay booth. And then also there's a deal of where I don't even know what targeting is anymore. Because
no idea
what they say it is, and you think you see it, it's never called. It's no targeting, whatever. It's like, dude, he was flat in the air, eyes down, top of the helmet, all kinds of, but that's my little soapbox rant for this show. We've got to get better, not just on the field officiating, but in the booth, because you have people's livelihoods riding on these things, and you're casually, whether you're up there eating peanuts, cookies, or whatever, not paying attention to it, you have the benefit of replay. There's no way you should blow replay kind of calls.
Yeah, the Anthony Woods one was pretty obvious. I felt like there were clear views that he didn't step out of bounds. Like the game should have ended there. And then not on top of that, too, you throw an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for celebrating the win.
What you
and
thought
then you
was
call
a
the
game
touch. Yeah, then you put him out of bounds, back him up 15 to the exact same spot, so that play didn't even happen. It was just I didn't understand it. Listen, I thought, I'm with you, Coach. I thought he scored just based on the views that they showed on the television, at least. I don't know if they had a different view in the booth that they didn't show us, but I thought both defenses played outstanding games. I just want to say that. I mean, the defenses were light out. Yes, listen, Branson Combs, legit, man. 10 tackles, 1 pick for Southern Illinois. And Coach, Alexander, 10 total tackles, a forced fumble, is a true freshman who had to step up at linebacker for the Vandals due to injury. Trey Thomas had a big game. Marcus Harris, coach, I understand people. I know some people give out awards, postseason honors based on, we talked about this, based on NFL potential. And you might think he's undersized, whatever. He's 5'11", 185. I don't care. One of the best corners in the country is Marcus Harris in Idaho. That interception in overtime was so clutch, and he's always in the right spot, and he's always making the right play. I think Marcus Harris deserves way more respect for the year that he's having. That's his third pick this season, coach, and he's had 6 picks over the last 2 seasons. Man, this kid is balling right now.
That was big time. Nick Baker, man, up to that point had been masterful. You know, they couldn't get him on the ground. Got out of the pocket, made life horrible for them for 3 quarters. And then, you know, it just kind of fell off the table. But between him and Roe Elliott, if they show nothing else, at least for our level, it's not about the size. It's about whether guys can freaking play the game or not. And Roe Elliott is a guy. You know, he was basically untackled. You know, they had problems with him all night. And I think when they got to overtime and they kind of went away from him, you know, that kind of led them to the loss to me, because he had been really good. He had been really good all night. Whether they couldn't see him or not before he got up on them, whatever the problem was, Idaho could not get him on the ground. And you got 25 yards to go. I'm probably giving it to him at least 2 out of those 4 downs, and then we're gonna run. You know, we'll work from there. But heck of a game, man. And yes, Idaho had me smoke 2 sticks trying to get that one done, man. I don't know why they just want to make it hard, man. I'm riding on the bandwagon, guys. Help me out,
man. I'll say this. I know Giovanni didn't have his best game. Went 15 to 23, 183, a pick, but he was under pressure consistently.
Yep.
And I don't know what percentage he played at, but I thought it was a gutsy performance by him and Baker. Because I know McCoy, I don't think he was 100%. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna have a faith saying that. I don't know. I wouldn't know where to put him completely, but I thought Anthony Woods had a big game. Listen, if you give him that touchdown run, his stats are I mean, it looks a lot better. Yeah,
over 100, right at 100. Yep.
Yeah, yep. Right about there. So but like you said, I think the star of the game, that boy Hayden Hatton. I don't even know how to explain it anymore, because here's what gets me, coach, is when a guy is that good that you know that's where they're going and they can't do anything about it.
Couldn't stop it. And he'd walk them down the field for the game-tying touchdown. You know, him and McCoy, 10-yard stop route, 10-yard out route, 10-yard, and you knew it was coming, and it was like, it wasn't tight throws. He was wide open. And then just to hear after the game that he's deciding, you know, he's still deciding on what he's going to do. I would tell that young man, you know, if you got that type of draft grade, do it. If not, man, come back. You know, make it even better. I'm sure you're not hurting for anything in Idaho anyway. So come on back, man. You know, you guys got something special. Now, if you got that type of draft grade, do what you got to do. But if it's not what he likes, man, I'm definitely, if I'm on Idaho's collective committee, we've got to find a way to get Hayden back, because he makes that whole thing go. He really does.
You know, the interesting thing is, I wonder I don't know what his relationship is with McCoy. Come back. I just ball out with Giovanni for another year, if anything. I mean, because you're looking at it. I mean, because technically he's been there for 5 years, but the problem is, if I'm not mistaken, he had the COVID year and then he had an injury year. Yeah, and so right now he's sitting at 3,300 receiving yards with almost 40 receiving touchdowns. He could end his career with 3 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons.
Unheard of.
I mean, when we talk about the best wide receivers in the country, especially at the FCS level, it's Todd James, Hayden Hatton, And
The
it's
boys out
really
there.
hard to even put anyone else in that conversation.
Your man, your guys out there, man. And then, I'm gonna put my guys in there as well. But your man out there at South Dakota State.
Oh, the
They
Yankees.
Yeah, they get it done. Montario Hunt, Alcorn State gets it done. But what I want to do before we move on, man, I got to figure out. I got to get with Nationwide or somebody, man. I want to do one of those camps where I invite the top receivers and top quarterbacks out for a couple of days and actually work with those guys and see them, because I really want to know what their work ethic's like. Because Haddon makes it look so easy. Doesn't look like he's doing a lot. Puts me in the mind of another great tall receiver, Eddie. Easy Eddie is what they used to call him. Christian McCaffrey's dad. It's just you see him and you don't. And I would really like to know what that kid's work ethic is like, and just kind of see him in his own little element. But he saved them, and they've got to be better with their start if they want to continue to move on in this playoff, because that start right there was reminiscent of that Grizzly start. This time they were just able to come back, this time.
Here's what I'm worried about. And we're going to get to that game next. We're just going to do some quick recaps because the rest of the games were blowouts. They're facing a team next week that is, I'm going to make the proclamation here in a second, have the best 2 edge rushers in the entire country. And that offensive line's got to come to play, because there's a chance that McCoy is going to have nightmares about number 4, number 8 in purple or white, I guess this is on the road, coming off the edge. Yeah, it's going to be something serious.
Yeah. And they're coming in there with something to prove. Ain't no doubt about it.
Coach, let's get to that. Albany, 41-13 over Richmond, stormed out 27-0 lead. I mean, really and truly, the offense played okay, but it was the defense, man. Timely turnovers, dominated the line of scrimmage. Simon and Anton, coach, 4.5 combined tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, as the Great Danes finished with 5 total sacks. And coach, they pressure. I think there is a chance that Richmond's quarterback could have been pressured on every play.
Yeah, they came in with the mindset, like you said earlier, that they, and I hadn't really paid a lot of attention to them, just kind of going through what you say. And they proved that their front 7 is that deal. And the front 4 don't need a lot of games to get things done as far as their pressure goes. So, yeah, that worries me for my guy next week facing these guys, because they can make this thing a track meet defensively. And when you can do that, it could be a long, long day for a team's offense if you are not able to slow those guys down in that box.
Yeah, it's going to be a problem because they struggled with Montana's line, but this one's even worse, because I don't think Montana has a lot of elite pass rushers. I just think they're really good at the defensive tackle spot, and they got some guys that'll go make some plays. But I'm interested to see. But listen, Bill Hackett with a big pick 6. Amir Hall had another interception. I think he's kind of solidifying himself as one of the better defensive backs in the country. Poffenbarger did what he did, coach. 4 total touchdowns, 170 passing yards, just a playmaker. I don't know what is. Let me make sure I get the measurements right, because I kind of noticed something. He has that similar play style, coach, to almost like a Baker Mayfield, Johnny Manziel thing, where he's just out there going out there just making plays. Like, it doesn't always look pretty, and he's going to make some insane looking throws, and it's going to be off balance. He's going to take some risk. His completion percentage isn't going to be super high, but he's just going to go make a play.
And that's all you ask at this point. This point in the season, man, you don't care how it gets done. You just need to get done. And that's what he's doing. And, when they turn the team over and they can get you behind, and then they're able to pin their ears back, that gives them, a big time advantage. And like you said, they have a guy in the secondary that can make you pay for being off with a throw, late with a throw. And, they shut them down in the run game. So if you make a team one-dimensional in the playoffs, you got a pretty good percentage of high percentage of winning the game, and that's what they did with Rich. And I think this was what probably. Would you say this was probably the least? Well, no, it was one more that wasn't really close. Or
yeah, we're about to get there.
Yeah.
We
didn't even got to hit that one. I just feel for my guy.
I just gotta say it. We don't have to spend much time. South Dakota State 41, Mercer nothing. Coach, I feel bad. The spread wasn't even enough. They should have been 50-point favorites.
I was like, how would I have lost a freaking spread of 28, 32 points, man? You know how mad I'd be if I took those 32 and still lost.
Coach, 6 first downs, 151 total yards. Held our guy tied at 28 receiving yards. And then on the other side of the ball, gave up 340
on the ground
rushing yards. 2 100-yard rushers with Amar and Isaiah. And then again, the Yankee twins is doing their thing. I mean, Coach, I don't even – they scored on the first 5 possessions, and it never was close.
Can't say that they weren't ready. I just think they got a bad draw from the beginning with the bracket. That's all you can say, man. I mean, those guys probably easily could have went for 600 total yards if they don't shut it down at the end, so to speak. But, heck of a year for Ty James, Mercer. But they just ran into a buzzsaw. And there's going to be somebody else that runs into this buzzsaw. When you are forced to sit there and take 350 yards in your face on the ground, I don't know what you do. When you get it, you better be scoring in 1 or 2 plays because that's your only shot. But they play defense. So, you've got to find a way. But letting them be balanced, you got to find a way to shut one of these things off. Whether you play the bear front, old 46 bear, Buddy Ryan type D, and say, hey, we'll let you throw for 500, but you're not going to run for 350, kind of thing. But you've got to shut something off. You can't just leave it open for them.
I'll be 100% honest, Coach. I know that football IQ doesn't sound good because it's any given Saturday. It's any given Saturday unless the Jackrabbits are locked up again. I don't think it matters what kind of defense you run. Like, unless you have that level of talent in the FCS, I don't think it. And Mercer,
they're balanced. You can't come out in a 4-3 box. You can't do that.
No,
you can't come out there in that 4-3 box. You can't do that.
You're gonna have to change. You're gonna have to change something up. The problem is, like, Mercer's super talented. Like Lance Wise, All-American, Ken Stanley, All-American level, Ty James, Devron Harper. But once you get past that, they aren't on the same level in the box, like line of scrimmage wise, that South Dakota State is on either side of the ball.
No, and you just hope for the best. You try to hang on, but you can't come out there in your conventional sets, so to speak. You got to come out there and you got to be in some 6'2" tackles off, or something that you created in the lab to give yourself an opportunity, because those guys, what they do and creating angles, and I think we did it last year when we looked at some of those run plays that they had in the championship game. They are really good and really sound up front, knocking double teams over, getting up to that backer. So you've got to do some different things yourself to combat. Not only that they're good, but they're good. You know what I'm saying? They're just good. They're good.
Yeah.
At what they do. They're really good at what they do.
Before we move on, I know you're going to be biased. So let's take the Idaho shirt off for just a second. Stylistically, who's a better matchup for South Dakota State? Idaho or Albany?
I have to say Albany, just because defensively,
that's what I was thinking.
They are better than Idaho. Defensively, I think they're better than Idaho. They have enough size up front, across the board, so to speak. I just don't know how deep Albany is, but they've got some guys with some that can hold a gap, probably hold one of those double teams a little bit longer for a backer to come off clean. more so than Idaho. As much as it pains me, yeah, I got to go with U Albany.
That's what I was thinking. Like it sounds so weird because there's like this stigma that like CAA teams don't belong, but it really true. Like on that side of the bracket, even in the first round, like it looked like Albany was by far the best matchup on that side of the bracket in terms of the talent they have. Because to compete with South Dakota State, you're gonna have to have talent at the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
I don't think there was a team that was more loaded on the defensive line than you Albany. And you're also going to have to have a quarterback that's a playmaker that's going to be able to make plays on broken plays. That now the one question Timothy makes a good point with Poffenbarger's gunslinger ability. When he's on, he's on. But if he misfires,
it could get ugly.
That 3-4 turnover mark starts getting real. That it's going to turn into a bloodbath. But
they don't want extra possessions.
Right. Yeah, you can't give them extra possessions because it's going to be a murder. But coach, before I don't want to keep you too long, but number 2 Montana 49, Delaware 19. I mean, what do we got? Clifton McDowell, coach, 186 passing, 3 total touchdowns, over 50 rushing, explosive plays after explosive plays, and they stopped Delaware, coach, on 3 fourth down attempts, forced 2 turnovers and a safety this weekend.
I was expecting a little more offensively from Delaware on their exit to the group of 5. But, this Montana team is peaking at the right time, dude. This Grizz team is peaking at the right time, and they're giving themselves an opportunity to win games at the end, even though they didn't have to wait to the end. But they're giving themselves an opportunity to compete deep in these playoffs the way they're playing. But I can remember not too long ago, man, nobody believed that they would even be to this point. And you look up and they're 11-1 and seem to have it moving all in the right direction. So it's going to be interesting to see how they continue to build week after week in these playoffs and how deep they can actually make a run to.
Did you see the weather in this one?
This game here or what they got coming next?
Yeah.
All that
bro,
snow.
it looked so nice early, and then by the second half, they couldn't even see the field.
Yeah, all
insane.
That snow. We couldn't have. Well, I would have went up top. I let you do the field reporting, and we would have just worked that way had we been at that game there, man.
Been on the phone talking, you be in the press box.
that would have been brutal. That would have been brutal.
Oh man, Coach Timothy's already calling us out in the chat. He said don't skip over the fact that we both picked Youngstown and he picked Nova. Villanova, coach, 45, Youngstown State 28. And the biggest concern was, and listen, shout out to Timothy. He called in the chat. He said that Youngstown State allows too many explosive plays.
And boom.
The Wildcats averaged 9 yards per play. Connor Watkins was great. Coach, they finished the game with 9 explosive runs, including that 22-yard touchdown late in the fourth quarter to put this one away. At 2 second-half interceptions, man. Were you surprised at how Villanova looked this weekend?
I'm not going to take anything away from Timothy and his pick in Villanova, but I was surprised at how Youngstown looked. I'd say that defensively. They almost gave up 500 yards of total offense, and 300 of that would have been through the air. I just thought that they would be able to get a little more pressure and control the line of scrimmage. And Villanova showed us that we were wrong. I think Timothy had some insider trader information or something to call that one. And then you look at the score and you're like, oh, he must have known something from inside the building that we didn't know.
I need Timothy. If you're such a believer of Villanova, man, I need you to pick them this weekend, man. I need you to pick them this weekend. Go into Brookings, but I know that's not going to happen. But the biggest thing, coach, and we'll move on. Youngstown State only 82 rushing yards, less than 3 yards a carry. That's their bread and butter. Yep. Shout out to Villanova for taking that away. Coach, the final, 2 more games real quick. Furman 26, Chattanooga 7. Coach, we saw this coming. Everyone was hurt for Chattanooga. Furman got everybody back. They had possession for over 35 minutes of the game, held Chattanooga to only 84 passing yards, forced some big turnovers, only 200 yards of total offense allowed. Anything surprise you from Furman's dominant victory?
Man, when you turn a team over and you're able to do what they did and be as balanced as they were, and took advantage of the fact that the other team was less than 100%, hats off to them. But, to dominate the time of possession like that, that gives yourself an opportunity every week.
Yeah, the final game. Oh, God, this one hurt. I tried. I tried to believe in them. South Dakota 34, Sacramento State 24. Coach, South Dakota never trailed. It was 17-0 early in the first quarter. 56-yard fumble return to break it open. Right? Yeah, you did. You got me on this one. Coach, okay. Dominant ground game again. Aiden Bowman was efficient. I mean, I think everything that you predicted to happen in this one happened. And then also my guy Caden Bennett gets hurt, and it was just downhill from there.
Yeah, and that didn't help him. And the fact that the second guy came in and played decent, I just think, like you said, it was just an uphill battle. And when you're able to run the ball and keep the time of possession the way that Dakota was able to do that, man, you give yourself an opportunity. And like I said, when I called it the other day, I just didn't think they had enough to keep up with them. And when you say the QB went down, they definitely didn't have enough to keep up with them. So hats off to me, man, for taking the lead over you.
Yeah, man, big time right there. But real quick, man, guys, a huge week this weekend. I mean, Coach, I don't know if you saw this. ESPN finally getting on board, I guess, for the first time ever in terms of the quarterfinals. But Furman, Montana moved to Friday night on ESPN2, 8 p.m. kickoff. Villanova, South Dakota State gets an ESPN slot at 11 a.m. on Saturday. North Dakota State, South Dakota, ABC, 1:30 p.m. Central Time. Get the ABC slot. And I'm so pissed about this. They put freaking Idaho and Albany at 9 p.m. kickoff on ESPN Plus. What is on ESPN2 at 9 o'clock at night that you couldn't give them the ESPN2 slot to just round it out? And it's the best game. It's going to be the best game of the entire. They put all these games on ABC, ESPN, ESPN2, and they put the best game on ESPN Plus. What are we doing?
The curling finals is what got them bumped off of ESPN2. I get it, time zone, but I mean, you put that on ESPN2, man, you get ratings. I don't care what time you put it on there. Like you said, it's the best game. So hopefully they'll get it done a lot sooner. I'm not up as late. They take the suspense out of it and they don't go to overtime. It's my hope. And it's going to be a big time weekend, man. Big time weekend.
Now I will say, I wish they kind of, I know they didn't want none of the games to compete in time slots against each other. The reason there's not a game in the late afternoon, they did not want a game to go up head to head against the Heisman ceremony.
And I think that's another show. I won't get into that.
Whole nother show, because we know who should win that game. But Coach Van, any final thoughts on the week, man? I see it's getting dark behind you, man. I'm sure you want to get back. But man, any final thoughts?
I saw where the first where Mr. Campbell put that up there. I've been battling all weekend, man, on Twitter, and people have been kind of getting upset with me. But what's going on here at our level is what's right about it. When you talk about setting a playoff, a true opportunity for a team to get in, this is the model, and I hope they don't mess with the model. Just really excited that this is working, and the other at the big boy level is spitting and sputtering along. So again, shout out to this level, the O1AA, for getting it right, man, and looking for a great week. And it's not always about the best four teams. It's about the teams that can play. So,
I was about to ask you. That was going to be my final question of the night, because I know you're a Florida guy. It hurt on Sunday, didn't it?
It just didn't make sense, man. The goalpost just continues to move to fit whatever you want it to fit. For all the reasons they say they shouldn't have been in, were the reasons they should have been in. You lose your number one quarterback. All you do is win. It was less than impressive. It was a rival game. So what's the difference between that rival game and Michigan's rival game? Well, you're down to your number 3 quarterback. But the number 2 quarterback will be back for the bowl game. Oh, by the way, he won. So I don't know if you saw that game, but that defense is as good as anybody in the country. And I think the sad thing about what's about to happen is not sad, but will be disappointing. A lot of those kids are going to opt out of the Orange Bowl. And, I don't blame them. It's a New Year's 6. A lot of those kids from both teams are going to opt out. It's just a matter of whose big stars are going to be able to opt out, whose big stars aren't. If Georgia's tight end opts out, that levels the playing field just a little bit. But you're not going to get the true matchup because those teams won't be the same because those kids are going to opt out. But, yeah, I like the way it's been done here in 1AA. But that one there was a tough pill to swallow for college football, if you ask me. And I've been debating everybody on Twitter about it, and nobody wants to answer the question. Cordell Jones came in for an injured quarterback, won his championship game, won his playoff game, won a national championship. What's the difference?
The brand. I'm just going to tell you, it's the brand. That's what it was. Because if roles were reversed and Milroe was hurt, Bama probably would have still gotten in.
They needed a prayer to beat Auburn. So
that's where I was going. Because, I listen, I'll say this. Should Florida State have been in? Yes. Did I see this coming? Absolutely. Because the committee has been setting it up for 2 weeks. He said we're going to consider the injury, and it's the 4 best, not the 4 most deserving. And as soon as he said that 2 weeks ago, I was like, go ahead and get this ready because he's not going to let Florida State. My thing is, Coach, so they beat a Louisville team that was top 15.
Yep.
By double digits with a third-string quarterback and like you said, a great defense. They beat a Florida team on the road by 9 points. And you had Bama not with a third-string quarterback, not with any injuries, need a prayer to beat an Auburn team that got blown out by New Mexico State less than 7 days ago.
Yep.
So I'm with you.
Michigan had less yards than Florida State did in their championship game with their starting quarterback and their coach back. So when you're talking about, and that's why when he got on ESPN, the chair person, it was on his face, man. Like, all right, this is what we did. And it's like, dude, you're double talking yourself because it doesn't make any sense what you're saying because you could point to any one of these teams. And then the real issue that I have with it be, Texas was at 7. How do you jump from 7 to 3? And who lost? Florida State didn't lose. And you want to say that, okay, they just don't look the same. Washington has had Penix Jr. the whole year. They've struggled the last 4 weeks. What's the difference?
I mean, and the crazy part about it is too, it's just the 14 playoffs. The 14 playoff is always dumb when you have 5 Power 5 champions in a 14 play. Like that goes back to the main issue. But then to Coach, what were we talking about when I said, my rankings? We were talking when we had that big debate about top 25s and everything. I said, I don't rank teams based on hypothetical matchups because it just comes down to confirmation bias, which is what happened with the college football playoff. They said who would win in a head-to-head? Bama, Florida State. Well, you're just going to think what you think. And like Timothy said in the chat, Washington was like a 10-point underdog against Oregon, and they won. Like, upsets happen all the time. So, like, the fact that it was
a higher-ranked team.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. But I'm glad we're going to 12 teams at the end of the day. Like, I don't like, I know people were like, you'll have the same debate about 12 and 13. that's not the same debate as 4 versus 5, 6, and 7. Like, if you're the 16th team in the country and have 4 losses, shut up. No one cares what you have to say. You don't deserve anything. You're lucky to even be a consideration. But if you're an undefeated Power 5 champion, that's a whole different conversation than what would be happening if this was already a 12-team playoff.
But when you take the 7th ranked team and they play, and you can't tell me Florida State wouldn't have beat Oklahoma State the exact same way with the exact same team. But you take that team, and then when they placed them in the 3rd spot, I knew what was going on at that point. Like, okay, there's no way that team that was 4th, Florida State, stays at 4, even though they won. But you make it an obvious situation. And it's like, someone said when we're debating, they should just make it an SEC tournament, because other than this year, what have they always said about the Pac-12? Horrible, horrible, horrible. Now all of a sudden, it's to cast me out? Come on now. What are we talking about?
I'm with you. I knew listen, social media has been a blaze of that. So I'm glad we hit that. So guys, now you all know our thoughts on the college football playoff. That's why 24 is better and all the conference champions get in, except for the ones that don't want to play. Which is cool.
Hey, non-scholarship team got in.
Got drugged, but got in. They got to go catch
this
work.
To win it, right?
Hey, and to be fair, the one Pioneer League twice won in back-to-back years, so it can be done. Who knows? But yeah, I'm with you. At least everyone is included.
Got to be in it to win it. And then I'm gonna end my portion of the show with this. You help me understand this part. There's 2 teams playing for an opportunity for a championship, right? In one league, on the same day, at the same time. One team could actually win it if the other team loses. The other team could actually win it if they win, regardless of what the other team does. The team that wins it, regardless of what the other team does, there's trophies, there's hats, there's T-shirts. Meanwhile, the team that's still playing started the game at the same time. There's no trophy, there's no hats, no T-shirts. So how do we know where to put the trophy and the T-shirts at?
Okay. So I know it's like this for the Super Bowl. I don't know what it's like in college. So the trophy, like they'll just take to the locker room. They'll just take it to the locker room. Whoever wins, and they'll engrave it later. Or they'll engrave 2 trophies. Like that's a common thing, and they'll just get rid of the other one. The T-shirts, though, they print them out for both teams, and then they ship the other ones to third world countries. No, I'm serious. Like that's actually what happens.
No, you're missing it. So I don't want to put names to it, but I'm gonna put names to it because someone brought it to me. So PV and Alcorn are playing at the same time.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Were there 2 trophies? Was there a trophy in Jackson and one in Texas?
Yeah, probably.
Said trophy was never seen in Jackson, nor T-shirts. Mind you, we did win a share. And I'm just like, man, why are y'all? What do y'all do during the day to come up with this stuff, man? But now that you brought it up, where's my hat and my T-shirt?
I don't know what country they shipped it to, but somebody's rocking it somewhere. So listen, somebody thinks the Bills are a dynasty right now.
Oh man, they have a whole bunch of T-shirts over there, bro.
Oh yeah, some third world country thinks the Bills are the best NFL team in the history of the NFL.
No doubt. Hey, Fly Zone, Riley, FAMU, man, 5 for 132. Yep. Battle, walk-on apparel, Fly Zone, receiver of the week, man. Did his thing in the downpour, 5 for 132, set the tone early. Congrats to Mr. Riley.
Hey man, shout out to Marcus Riley, man, a baller all season long, man, all season long. But guys, man, appreciate y'all tuning in, man. We went a little bit longer than expected, but listen, we'll be back Thursday, 4:30 p.m. Central Time, previewing the quarterfinals, man, of the FCS playoffs, and also talking transfer portal, coaching announcements, man. There's been, I'm sure we might be at 2,000 coach by Thursday. You're right, I probably undershot that number by a lot, but. Guys, hit the like button, subscribe. You can catch the replay on all podcast streaming platforms on the channel. But for Coach Fred, for myself, for the Bluebloods FCS Football Central, man, we out for right now.